found no evidence to support them. The election is over. That is the rule of law. That is our constitutional process. Those who refuse to accept the rulings of our courts are at war with the Constitution. Our duty is clear. Every one of us who has sworn the oath must act to prevent the unraveling of our democracy. This is not about policy. This is not about partisanship. This is about our duty as Americans. Remaining silent and ignoring the lie emboldens the liar. I will not participate in that. I will not sit back and watch in silence while others lead our party down a path that abandons the rule of law and joins the former president's crusade to undermine our democracy. We must speak the truth. Our election was not stolen, and America has not failed. We must love America so much that we will never yield in her defense. That is our duty. Thank you.
On the eve of a vote that is expected to force her out of her leadership job in the Republican Party, Wyoming Congresswoman Liz Cheney, the daughter, of course, of former Vice President Dick Cheney, speaking on the House floor just within the past few minutes. And a remarkable statement. We face a threat America's never seen before. A former president who provoked a violent attack on this Capitol in an effort to steal the election has resumed his aggressive effort to convince Americans the election was stolen from him. He risks inciting further violence, she says. Millions of Americans have been misled by the former president. It continues to undermine our democratic process, sowing seeds of doubt about whether democracy really works at all. The election is over. That's the rule of law. That is our constitutional process. It describes the more than 60 state and federal courts, including multiple judges the former president appointed, have rejected his claims. That is the rule of law. That is our constitutional process. Those who refuse to accept the rulings of our court are at war with the Constitution. This is not about policy. This is not about partisanship. This is about our duty as Americans. Remaining silent and ignoring the lie emboldens the liar. I will not sit back and watch in silence while others lead our party down a path that abandons the rule of law and joins the former president's crusade to undermine our democracy. Liz Cheney not going quietly as they throw her out of her leadership role. Unless they're going to vote to expel her out of Congress, she's still going to be the congresswoman from Wyoming, whether or not she still has a leadership role in name in the Republican Party. She's effectively claiming a leadership role in the Republican Party outside the formal party leadership, which apparently requires fealty to this lie about the election and fealty to the former president, no matter how outlandish his claims, in order to be a nominal leader in the party. And it's been a fascinating thing to watch because this has been the chronicle of a political death foretold, right? As soon as we knew that Liz Cheney was teetering in terms of her Republican leadership post in Washington, it seems like almost an inevitable conclusion that she will be voted out, that there is nothing that can save her. That's just the way the Republican Party works right now. You cross Donald Trump, you are seen as an enemy of Trump, and you're politically over. And so it's just a question of how long it was going to take and how Liz Cheney would comport herself while she awaited her inevitable fate. It does seem like she is planning on being loud about it and not neither sort of simpering along with this fate, but also not going away, not willing to back down on it. And the Washington Post had some really fascinating reporting over this weekend. It was matched by some reporting today from CNBC about how Liz Cheney doesn't just plan to stay in Congress and keep saying what she believes. She plans to escalate as much as she can her battle to try to turn the Republican Party away from Trump, and specifically the Trump lie about election fraud having been the story of the 2020 election. So the Washington Post had reporting this weekend about Cheney's efforts to continue that fight. And the divide, part of what she sees is what's wrong with the Republican Party, the divide between her and the other Republican leaders in the House. Specifically, the Washington Post described a House Republican retreat last month where the party had its officials run through for Republican members of Congress important internal Republican Party polling numbers. Here's how the Post explained it. Quote, when staff rose to explain the party's latest polling in core battleground districts, they left out a key finding about Trump's weakness, declining to divulge the information even when directly questioned about it. Trump's unfavorable ratings were 15 points higher than his favorable ones. His unfavorable were 15 points higher than his favorable ratings in the core districts being discussed, according to the full poll results, which were later obtained by the Washington Post. Nearly twice as many voters had a strongly unfavorable view of former President Trump as a strongly favorable one. But they left that data out of the presentation they were making to House Republican members, because even when their own polling shows in their own House districts where their own members are going to be running for re-election, shows danger with associating themselves with Donald Trump, shows dangerous numbers in terms of his unpopularity, they're unwilling to voice those things out loud, even to their own members, because nothing bad can ever be said about Donald Trump. That's something beyond showing loyalty. That's about willingness to hurt yourself, willingness to inflict political pain on yourself in order to instead display this other thing about the former president and the lies he's spinning to his face. And if you listen to, I think, a lot of the Beltway press right now, you'd be tempted to believe that tomorrow's vote is happening because Liz Cheney is an insufficiently Trumpy Republican, that she hasn't supported the Trump agenda over the past 4 years when Trump was president. That's absolutely not true. According to 538.com, Liz Cheney voted with Donald Trump about 93% of the time. Whereas the Republican who is due to replace Liz Cheney in her leadership job, a New York Republican named Elise Stefanik, she only voted with Donald Trump 78% of the time, significantly less. In terms of policy, in terms of aligning herself with Donald Trump, in terms of how Trump governed, Cheney is much Trumpier than Elise Stefanik. But that's just proof that this isn't at all about policy. It is about something else. It is about personality, and it is about supplication. It's about performative sycophancy, bending the knee abjectly to Donald Trump. And in that respect, Congresswoman Stefanik has absolutely passed the test in ways that Liz Cheney couldn't. Stefanik has emphatically endorsed the big lie about the 2020 election. Liz Cheney has stood